The film begins in Spain, where a young girl named Laura resides in an orphanage and is later adopted. Fast forward 30 years, Laura, now married to Carlos with a 7-year-old son named Simon, decides to transform the orphanage into a facility for children with special needs. Simon, during playtime, mentions his 2 invisible friends, Watson and Pepe, but Laura and Carlos dismiss it. One day at the beach near a cave, Laura allows Simon to leave a belonging inside, claiming it's a chamber for special treasures. When Simon takes longer than expected, Laura enters the cave to find him talking alone. Simon insists he's conversing with a new friend, but all Laura sees are tiny footprints leading to a dead end. During a rainy day, Benigna Escobedo, a self-identified social worker and Simon's adoption consultant, visits. Laura, angered by the intrusion, learns from Benigna about Simon's pre-existing HIV condition. Later, Laura catches Benigna snooping around the property at night, but fails to confront her. The next day, Laura finds seashells outside her door, attributing them to Simon. Simon, claiming to have 6 new friends, expresses a desire to be like them, not grow old, and stay with them. Shortly after, Laura discovers a sketch depicting the 6 friends Simon claims to have and questions him about the drawing. Simon explains that his invisible friends steal treasures, and the owner must find them by following clues. If successful, the friends grant a wish. Simon shares that he has agreed to play the scavenger hunt game with his friends, leading to a search for hidden coins around their home. The hunt takes them from Simon's room to the garden, the chapel, and finally the kitchen, where Simon's adoption file is discovered. Using a key, Simon unlocks a drawer to reveal his coins hidden within the file pages and discloses that he knows he's adopted. Laura, enraged, demands to know who told him, and Simon attributes the revelation to Thomas, one of his invisible friends. Simon, agitated, confides in Laura about his belief that he will die soon, leaving his mother confused. In response to the incident, Laura and Carlos decide to have a serious conversation with Simon to clarify their family situation, encouraging him to ask questions. Meanwhile, as preparations for the orphanage reopening are underway, tensions rise between Simon and Laura. Simon desires to visit his friend, but Laura, overwhelmed with tasks, struggles to accommodate his requests, leading to Simon having a tantrum. In frustration, Laura slaps Simon, an action she immediately regrets. The party they are preparing for has an animal masquerade theme, requiring guests to wear animal masks. Among the guests is a child who closely resembles the one in Simon's drawing, whom Simon identifies as Thomas. In an attempt to reconcile, Laura enters the house to invite Simon to the party, but Thomas follows her in a sinister manner. He shoves Laura into the bathroom, locking her inside, prompting her to call for help. With assistance from Carlos and other guests, Laura escapes and searches for Simon in a small room with scattered construction scaffoldings. Realizing Simon is missing, she looks for him inside and outside the house before running to the beach and attempting to enter the cave. Carlos saves her from the crashing waves, and they involve the authorities in the search. Seeking medical attention at a nearby hospital, Laura learns from Carlos that Simon wasn't found in the cave, but she remains adamant about someone's presence. Pilar, the head police psychologist, backs Carlos, suggesting Laura may have imagined it. Pilar is part of the investigation team searching for Simon and speculates that he might have been kidnapped by a relative, considering recent intrusions. When Laura mentions Benigna, Pilar reveals that no registered social worker exists under that name, hinting at a potential connection to their son's disappearance. Bound to a wheelchair after a sea injury, Laura receives Carlos a medallion for comfort. In a dream, Laura swims in the ocean and wakes up to mysterious noises, leading her to Simon's room where she finds a doll under his sheets. After 6 months, with no progress in finding Simon, Laura and Carlos feel increasingly abandoned. Despite exhausting all efforts, they join a support group where Laura shares about Simon's imaginary friends as a way to cope. The group members in the support group assure Laura that seeing visions of loved ones after their death is a normal occurrence, but Laura remains confident that her son is still alive. One snowy day, the couple unexpectedly spots Benigna downtown, pushing a baby carriage. Laura, recognizing her, quickly exits the car, hoping to find Simon. Tragically, Benigna is fatally struck by a speeding ambulance, leaving a doll resembling Thomas in the carriage. Before any information can be extracted, Benigna passes away on the cold street. As Laura touches her necklace, Benigna briefly comes back to life with a deformed face, terrifying everyone. Following the incident, Pilar gathers materials from Benigna's house for investigation, revealing Benigna's past connection to the orphanage where Laura lived. Benigna had a son named Thomas, hidden due to deformities, who disappeared after Laura's adoption. It's discovered that the other orphans played a trick on Thomas at the cave, sealing his mask to see if he would emerge. The embarrassed boy never reappeared and drowned in the rising tides. Convinced she saw Thomas, Laura watches Benigna's film reels, revealing Thomas' real face as deformed and different. That night, Laura, recalling precious moments with Simon, feels someone cuddling in bed with her. Realizing it's not her husband, Carlos, she senses something haunting her once peaceful life. Seeking answers, Laura turns to parapsychology expert Professor Leo Balaban and shares the strange occurrences since Simon vanished, providing a piece of Benigna's clothing. After examining the item, Professor Balaban connects Laura with Aurora, a medium and friend. During their initial meeting, Aurora brings along her sound technician, Enrique, for the scene's procedure. Using a doll, Aurora summons the spirit, and the others watch from a separate room as the scene unfolds. Aurora walks around the orphanage, while Enrique traces her steps in hopes of finding a clue to locate Simon. In a secluded room, Aurora hears the desperate cries of orphans and witnesses their dire state. Using a sound machine, the others also hear the children's spirits, while Professor Balaban guides Aurora on what to say, do, or ask. Aurora claims to see 5 children, but when she inquires about Simon, the power is cut off, abruptly ending the seance. Back in the living room, Aurora describes her visions in detail, but apologizes for not obtaining a clue about Simon's whereabouts. Carlos and Pilar remain skeptical about paranormal matters. Before leaving, Aurora informs Laura that her ability to see the dead is diminishing as she nears death, and both women reveal wounds caused by the spirits circling the orphanage. Laura, sinking into depression, explores the orphanage alone. A falling window reveals dolls beneath a window seat in a room, including a picture of her and Simon. Prompted by this clue, Laura initiates a scavenger hunt, Simon's favorite game. She finds a dried rose in childhood pictures, a piece of cloth in the garden resembling a blanket, and a candy packet leading to Simon's memory box. Inside, she discovers a doorknob and searches for a corresponding one in the house without success. Frustrated, she goes to the coal shed, finds Benigna's locket, and breaks open the door, revealing 5 human carcasses that terrify her. Devastated, Laura discovers that the bodies in the coal shed belong to her childhood friends, Martin, Rita, Alicia, Guillermo, and Victor. Benigna poisoned their meals to avenge Thomas' death and returned after 3 decades to recover the bodies. Laura shares her theory with Carlos, who struggles to grasp the situation, leading him to leave in the midst of the overwhelming revelation. Despite his pleas for them to stay together, Laura decides to remain alone at the orphanage. She meticulously recreates its appearance from 3 decades ago, even dressing as an employee before taking an excessive amount of sedatives. The high dosage is intended to induce a state of near death, making her more receptive to the spirit's messages. Holding the doorknob, she attempts to contact the spirits, but they ignore her completely. A breakthrough occurs while she recalls a childhood game where players knock 3 times. Laura knocks enough times for the children to come closer, and they lead her to a small room with construction materials, hinting at Simon's location. Distressed, Laura tears down wallpaper, inserts the knob into a door, and descends stairs to an underground room that used to be Thomas' abode. In a corner, she sees Simon lying silently and embraces him. Simon appears calm and well, relieving Laura's worries. However, as she clings to him, she realizes his weight becomes lighter, and she discovers a piece of cloth in her arms. In another corner, she finds Simon's lifeless body and screams in grief, realizing the truth behind his death. On the night of Simon's disappearance, Laura had arranged construction scaffolding pieces that blocked the entrance to the secret room. The mysterious crashing noises that night were Simon's desperate attempts to get out. In his struggle, he fell down the stairs, fatally breaking his neck. In a dramatic turn of events, Laura brings her son to the bedroom and consumes an excessive amount of sleeping medication. Holding Simon close, along with Carlos' medallion, she slowly releases her final breath. After some time, mother and son awaken in a room filled with orphans, joyfully reuniting with their childhood friends. The children immediately recognize Laura as their motherly figure, and she lovingly tells them a bedtime story, comforting them with her presence. As time passes, Carlos visits a gravestone just outside the orphanage before entering the house. In their old bedroom, he discovers the medallion he entrusted to Laura and reminisces about their cherished memories. The door opens before him, and in a comforting manner, he smiles. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.